Good evening, good evening. Welcome to day number 8. We're actually past the halfway mark and we're almost at the finish line. Can you believe it? So how have you all been doing over the last 7 days, should I say? Hopefully well. Hopefully you've picked up a couple of good tips and a couple of good habits along the way. Drop a note in the comments of your favorite things so far that you've learned. Okay, so today, as per the note, we are talking about emotional eating. Now, this is something that a lot of people suffer from, and we're just going to dive into why that happens, and that sometimes it's really just a bad habit that you've got into when you're feeling a certain way and looking for some sort of comfort or some sort of distraction. And it's often that we reach for things that are convenient and make us feel comfortable and cozy. And those are things that obviously aren't serving us. So what we're going to try to do today is shift that and offer you a couple of suggestions which might actually help you. Okay, so I know that often eating is mindless because we are bored. So perhaps sitting in front of the television at night, you might be eating some crisps. You might pick on some popcorn. You might be picking on something while you're making the dinner, right? That's sort of mindless eating. That isn't so much sort of emotional eating. That's just sort of mindless eating. So why do we actually emotionally eat? Let's have a chat about that. So emotional eating isn't about willpower. It's actually about your hormones. It's about your habits, and it's actually about your mindset. So many of us were taught from childhood that food would be a reward. So if you ate all your dinner, you could have a dessert. If you'd be quiet when the neighbors came over to visit, then you could have some cookies. So it was always seemed to be as a treat and as a prize for doing something well. So often if we, even now in our adult life or with our children, when we celebrate something, whether it's a promotion, whether it's a special occasion, it is often done around food. So therefore we start to associate with doing well means having a prize of food afterwards. If you've achieved something, you should treat yourself with food. And then the same thing happens when you're not feeling so great. When you're not feeling so great, your mom might make you a hot chocolate with some cookies that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy and loved. And actually, those are natural things that parents do for children, but we carry those into our adult life, and then we might perpetuate that as well. So what we're going to try and do is steer away from always giving treats in the way of food. And if we are going to do food, we're not going to always do chocolates and candy and ice creams and those kind of things. We're rather going to use food as a celebration. We'll go out for food, but everybody would have a meal, whether it's a burger and fries, which is obviously a better choice than a bowl of ice cream and a slab of chocolate, whether we're going to have some fish and salad, whether we're going to go out for sushi. Those are good ways of treating yourself by using food as a treat. Okay, so why does emotional eating happen? Often it's stress. So stress eating, when we've had a bad day or a super stressful day, what often happens is that we'll look for carbs and we'll look for sugar because these temporarily boost your serotonin. So that's your feel-good hormone. Your dopamine is slightly different, but your serotonin makes you feel good. And so that's why we reach for the carbs and the sort of the fatty foods rather than, an apple. Dopamine and reward eating. So when you eat processed food, like a cookie or a cake or a donut or something like that, it is the dopamine hit that you get from processed food. It's like a drug. It literally lights up your brain and your brain goes, yes. And what happens over time is your brain gets used to that, and that loves the feeling, obviously. And so when you are feeling sort of down and you're feeling stressed, your brain goes, oh, I know how to fix it. We'll just grab a cookie, we'll just have a chocolate, and then we'll feel great, which we will for a little while until the dopamine has gone, sort of settles, and then you don't feel so good again. And in order to get it again, people reach again for the same treat. So often, again, like I said just now, boredom. People eat while they're watching television. When you go to the movies, most people grab a bag of popcorn. They might have a slushie or a soda. These are all foods that are obviously massively high in carbohydrates and sugar. It's feel good. It's a nice occasion, celebrating, watching a movie, so nice. Even at home, you might have a bowl of crisps or something. Maybe you'll have a bowl of, chocolate peanuts, what have you. all of these things, and that is mindless eating, because you don't really know how much you're putting in your mouth until, you feel the bottom of the bowl and realize, oh, I've eaten everything. So what you can do in that case is have a smaller bowl, because you know that you're going to just mindlessly eat it. So a smaller bag of popcorn, or you'll share it out amongst everybody to have their own bowl. Those kind of things probably work a little bit better. And then another thing is, when you're feeling super exhausted, like after a long day, the fastest thing that people grab for is some kind of sugar, because it's quick energy to give you a boost. So you're on your way home, and you've got to prepare dinner. You might have to take the kids to their clubs. You might have a meeting, a Zoom meeting that you need to attend, or something else, and you're feeling completely exhausted. So what is the first thing? It'll end up being some kind of high carb sugar, and it'll probably be some kind of caffeine to give you that kick. Never mind that maybe having caffeine so late in the day is really not going to serve you. But a lot of people do have coffee in the evenings, and some people are affected by it. Some people are not affected by it. But this is why emotional eating happens. And it's the fatigue, and it's the exhaustion, and the emotion is, oh, I'm so tired, I need something. And so sugar and caffeine, that's the hit that you get, right? So guilt and restriction. We often label foods as bad foods, and we're not allowed those foods. So chocolate, that's a bad food. Ice cream, that's also a bad food. You might even have fries, that's a bad food. And so when you label something that it's a bad thing, your brain automatically thinks, well, it's a bad food. It's a bad food, and your brain starts playing games on you. Even though, actually, if you didn't label it as anything, your brain would probably be fine about it. But what will happen is you will stop yourself having the bad food. You will not allow yourself. But the moment that your willpower drops, and that'll drop because of exhaustion, because you might feel a little bit emotional, because there's other things going on, because you're feeling stressed, and because the willpower is then lower, you will automatically reach for the bad foods. So we're going to try not to label things as bad. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on the fact that food is actually not the enemy. Food, in fact, is your nutrition. Food keeps your body going, right? And there is nothing wrong with the odd treat. But let's not label it as a treat. We'll just label it as food. All right, we're not going to give it a good, bad label. It's just food. So what I'd like to encourage you to do is, when you are feeling a little bit sort of peckish, say to yourself, am I really hungry? Hold on a minute. Let me rather have a glass of water, have a bottle of water, and actually always try and keep yourself a bottle of water handy. The fresh water, whether it's from the tap or whether it's from the bottle, depending where you are, always manage to have some water with you. Still water with no flavor. I know we spoke about infused water. That's fine when you're around the house, but nothing better than fresh water. Often, your body tells you that you're hungry, or your brain says you need something, and you interpret that as food, when actually your body is a little dehydrated and you just need some water. So rather, let's have some water first of all. And then if you are actually able to, then go on a little walk. Not far, just 5 minutes, 10-minute walk if you can. Walk around the block. Tell yourself, first I'm going to walk around the block. Then if I'm feeling hungry, then let me decide if I'm going to have that food. You can also do some very nice deep breathing. You can call a friend. If you want, you can do some journaling, or sit aside with a nice cup of tea and read your book for a few minutes. Okay, so if that's not possible, you actually need to ask yourself, am I hungry? Why do I need a snack? Now, if it's within an hour of having dinner, you probably are hungry at that point, but you're going to want to rather hold out to have your dinner, because that's going to be much more filling and much more satisfying if you haven't had a couple of treats along the way before dinner arrives. Okay, so let's find some other comfort strategies as well. So aside from going on a walk and deep breathing, maybe you can think of something more fun to do. Phone a friend, have a chat. Like, you're not going to eat while you're talking on the phone, because you don't want to be caught mid-sentence with a mouthful. So phone a friend, phone a parent, phone someone that can distract you for 5 to 10 minutes. And then again, reassess. Do I need the food? Am I hungry? Get your mind around the question, am I hungry, or am I just doing it through boredom? All right, so Balancing your blood sugar, and that means when you are having a meal, try and make sure you get the right amount of macros. The macros are your protein, your fiber, your carbohydrates, and your fats in a meal. Every meal should be balanced with those. There's different percentages of each, but every meal should contain those four. And that will mean you're having a proper balanced meal. With your balanced macros. And if you are having that, you should not actually get cravings because your sugar should not actually dip. So rather we're saying when we are reaching for good food, we're going to say, I'm nourishing my body with this food. I'm choosing to eat this food. And a good way of doing that, to reframe when you're looking for something sweet, is to say to yourself, I don't eat sweets after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't have any sugar after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't have dessert with my dinner. These are things you just tell yourself, and your brain goes, oh, right, well, we don't do that then. And you may have to obviously tell yourself this a number of times. But if you tell yourself that you are the person that doesn't do a certain thing, your brain starts to go, right, well, we don't do that then. And the craving, amazingly enough, what you tell your brain, it will listen to you. So if you are someone that says, I don't have dessert after dinner, that's it. Then you don't have dessert after dinner. And you'll be amazed how your brain goes, no, I don't really want dessert. I don't do dessert after dinner. We don't do that. Your brain is a powerful machine, and remember, you can program it. So remember, program it correctly. All right, a big thing, trigger foods. Okay, so if you have children or you have people who live with you that love certain foods, and you do buy certain cookies or chocolates or popcorn or crisps, whatever it is, and you keep it in a cupboard, if that's a cupboard that you're going to go to often to get food out of, to make food, if it's where you keep your canned food, if it's where you keep your sauces, then move the trigger food somewhere else. It doesn't need to be down the passage. It can just literally be in your utility room. It can be in another cupboard, a cupboard or a drawer which you do not access for any reason. You can put all their foods in there. Now, my daughter, we have a spare microwave that we don't use. And so that is in the kitchen, and all her treats, she puts in that. It's like her little stash. She keeps that in there. My son has his own Tupperware, a big Tupperware that he actually keeps in the bottom of the cupboard next to the cereal. I don't eat cereal. I never go in there. Whenever he gets his treats, he puts them there. They're out of sight, out of mind. I don't even think about it. When I go to the cupboards that I use to do the family's cooking, or to get the sauces or coffee or tea, there's none of that in there. There's not even sugar in there. So I don't ever have that craving. If I felt like I wanted a treat of some sort, then I would ask someone, or I would find someone, or my mom or somebody who might have stashed some nice cookies somewhere, and maybe they'd give me one. But the idea is that you don't make it so easy for yourself, because your body doesn't really want it. It doesn't really need it, but it's getting used to it because you have it right in front of you. So I would encourage you to find somewhere else to put the treats for the rest of the family. If that isn't really possible, then put it into a box in the cupboard, or into a Tupperware in the cupboard that you maybe don't have to, it's not easy for you to grab. You'd have to take the box out, take off the lid. It becomes an issue, right? So don't make it easy for yourself. Okay, so when you do decide that you do want that chocolate cookie, and you're thinking, you know what, I've had my water, I went for a walk, phoned my friend, and you know what, I still want that cookie, then you know what? Have the cookie and move on. We don't want to harbor it, and we don't want to labor it, and we don't want to be all about the cookie that we had or the 3 cookies that we shouldn't have had. Just move on. Have the cookies, acknowledge I had the cookies. And okay, I enjoyed those cookies, and now I move on from the cookies. And don't keep on about the cookies and shouldn't have maybe had them, and thinking about it and going through it and maybe running yourself down and saying bad things. No, at that moment, you wanted the cookies. You maybe should have made a better choice, but you know what? You wanted them. So you had them, and now you move on. Because what we don't want to do is harp on things, because then we start to stress ourselves out. We don't want to stress ourselves out about a choice over a few cookies or a few crisps. Okay, so the idea is this is all progress. Okay, this is not perfection. This is just doing things to make your life better. It doesn't have to be perfect. It may never be perfect. And you know what? That's okay. Because anything you do today that's better than you did yesterday is going to give you a better tomorrow, right? So you don't have to strive for perfection. You can just strive to be better than you were yesterday. That's all you need. Because at the end of the day, you get one body. You get into the world with one body, and you leave with that one body. And your job is to look after after that body the very best you can right through your life. And yes, you might not have had so much of a choice when you were a young child, maybe not so many choices when you were a teenager, or maybe you didn't make such great choices. But once you are an adult, you know what's good and bad for your body. You know when you should exercise. You know when you should go to sleep. You know these things. And it is your responsibility to look after that body of yours right through your life. Because as you get over your 40s and into your 50s and 60s and beyond, if you are blessed to have a lovely long life, then pray that your lovely long life is a healthy long life. You don't want to be plagued with illness and, type 2 diabetes and all of these things that are totally preventable, but they were caused through bad choices. So let's try and lower the inflammation, make some good choices. What I would like you to do is I would like you to declutter in your kitchen. Okay, so like I said, the idea is that you get rid of those trigger foods. So what I'd like you to do is go to your kitchen, your pantry where you keep all of your goodies. So those are things, it doesn't matter if it's rice and flour and all of the things, that's fabulous. You keep the healthy things in there. But anything that you know is a treat food, I'd like you to take that out and put it in a box, and I'd like you to put it into a different cupboard. Even if you don't have special things that you give to this child or that child or what have you, I would like those out of sight, out of mind. You will know where they are, but you're obviously not going to see them every time you open the cupboard to go and get your coffee out or to go and get something else out. It's not in front of you. So I'd like you to do that. And I would like, in the comments, I'd like you to say, yes, I did it when you've done it. If you can do that, that would be awesome. You'll find that immediately as you've taken that out of sight, it will be out of mind. Because when you're feeling a little bit, he's exhausted, and you would go to the cupboard to maybe make yourself a coffee or just go to the cupboard to look for something, there's nothing. So you'll close the cupboard, have a glass of water, maybe phone a friend, go for a walk. And before you know it, you've forgotten, and it's dinner time or it's lunchtime. So easy once you've reprogrammed your brain and your mindset is totally changed. Okay, so remember, we're going to get rid of them, put them in another cupboard. And then I would like you, next time you go to the store, to buy yourself a healthy alternative. So if you love crisps, then you can get yourself something along those lines, but that serves you. So you can get rather baked crisps, right? Instead of the fried crisps, you can get crisps that are made of load of vegetables. You can get beetroot ones, lentil crisps. You can get little rice cake crisps, those tiny little rice cakes. Sometimes they've got like chive sort of flavor, whatever it is that you like. Do that rather, and don't buy the big bag. You buy the individual bags. You'll find in your store, they have the big bag, and in it you have like 6 maybe small bags. That's the one you want. They often give those out. That's the one that the kids use for their school lunches. That's the one you want. So what will happen is you'll just take the one packet and you'll go sit somewhere and you will mindfully eat that thing. You won't walk around the house or chat to people. No, you won't do that. That is a very bad idea. You will sit calmly. You will eat the crisps or whatever it is. You will eat it, or the pretzels, whatever it is. You will mindfully eat it. Have a look at, even if you would like to get those little pretzels. Some of the pretzels are, lightly salted, what have you. Some of them actually do have a chocolate dip. But if you look at it, it's actually a carob. So it's actually a plant dip. So not so bad for you. But again, little packets. Because once you open the big packet, before you know it, we're scratching the bottom of the bag. And you know what? We all do it, okay? So you are not alone. And don't feel guilty, because we all do it. And that's why I'm having this conversation, is to try and change your mindset so that it makes it easier for you and your willpower is easy. And sometimes when the willpower is down, you can have that little bag and then you get on with your day afterwards and you just own it. And you don't carry on about, I shouldn't have had it. So another thing what I want to say is that often the reason why we feel so exhausted is probably because, aside from the fact maybe we haven't had a great sleep, perhaps we are not getting the right amount of nutrients in our body. Now, we all know that's pretty difficult, especially if you're a working mom and you work away from the home. The canteen is down the road, and sometimes it's just easier to grab something, right? But even if you're working in the home, and even if you're a stay-at-home mom, which is one of the hardest jobs, looking after the kids and making sure everyone is entertained and fed and the house cleaned and the shopping done and everything else. So hats off to all the moms, because mine are now teenagers and I work from home, but I send them off to school in the morning, and I can tell you it's great. But they used to be at home a lot and now not so much. But what I'd like to say to you is, it doesn't matter what walk of life you are in or what job you are in. I would encourage you to get yourself a meal replacement. Now, there are so many out there. Please don't get the ones with too much whey in it, with too many fillers. When you turn it around, if you get halfway through the ingredients and you don't know what those words are, put it back on the shelf. That's not what you want. I will encourage you to go vegan. And why vegan? Not because I'm encouraging you to be a vegan, but the vegan supplements usually have very little fillers, because a lot of the fillers that are put in have some kind of animal bits in, which is obviously not allowed for vegans. So you will do a lot better for your body, and it is way low in any kind of inflammation, as opposed to any products which have dairy in it, which is well known to cause some kinds of inflammation. So the products I use, it's actually called Complete, and it's called Complete because it's actually a complete meal. So it was very clever. It only is supplied now and again. We might have a special on one of the flavors, but actually it's usually just chocolate and vanilla. This is not a synthetic chocolate and vanilla. This is vanilla from the vanilla pod, and this is chocolate which emanates actually from the cocoa bean. So like, you are not going to have anything odd thrown in there. So I'm just going to show you what I use. This is my vanilla and this is my chocolate, and this I literally mix with whichever plant milk. Now, you know I love the coconut, but these actually go really well with almond milk, and those are low in inflammation. These are about 200 calories, which is pretty much nothing, but it is a full meal, and in here you're getting 19 grams of protein. And if you know anything about protein in menopause, or anything about women in general, you need protein in your diet. So 19 grams of protein, you cannot go wrong. This you just take along in your handbag and just empty it into your shaker, or you just serve it in a glass with your milk and you're good to go. The other thing I want to tell you is that often our bodies are craving the nutrients. Now, you might find when you go to the store that you do buy a lovely range of fruit and vegetables, and that is brilliant. However, we do not actually know the correct amount of nutrients in that apple, in that broccoli. We don't know. We assume we can't know, right? We can know maybe better if we get the organic, because we know that it is grown in certain conditions and we don't have a whole lot of pesticides to deal with. But what I will encourage you to do is actually find yourself some supplements that are whole fruits and vegetables and berries. Now, I have my fruits, veg, and berries, which are these three that I take every single day. If you were on the call yesterday, you will have seen I was actually showing you, it's like a tiny little tapioca capsule, and that's literally just a rice paper. So the vegetables and the fruit and the veg fruit and the berries, they are over 30 of them all crushed in here, because what they actually do is they pick them when they are ripe, and then they actually take out all the water and they take out all the extra sugar, and then what they do is they actually dry it. And so what you get at the end of it is this sort of powder form. So these would be my berries, and this is the little tapioca capsule. It looks exactly like that. Okay, so you'll take like 2 of these a day, and 2 berries and 2 of the veg, and you would be finding in there, and it's all researched, it's not me just making up a nice little story for you. If you are taking these every day, 2 of each, you're getting over 30 different fruits, veg, and berries, and different variety. That is the key thing, because like in my house, we only usually like about 4 different vegetables and about 3 different fruit. That's what I buy all the time. That's what my children all like. That's what my husband likes. That's what my mum likes. So that's what I buy, right? Because I'm not going to waste and have it go off. So that's what I buy, and they love it, and that's great. However, the microbiome is not being stimulated. It's not being fed. The bacteria are only getting the same thing every day, every week. This way, if I'm giving my family these, and actually I put these in the cubbyhole of my car, so when we're driving off to school, they help themselves, and then we land up at school and off they go. So I know as a mom, they're all getting enough fruits, veg, and berries in their diet, because maybe what I'm feeding them, even though they're getting the roughage, they're getting the fibers, they're getting all the minerals and whatever are in the nutrients of the actual food, it's not enough actually for what their body craves. And my kids are basically never sick. So there you are. So I would encourage you to get hold of these supplements. Give me a shout if you'd like to try them out. We pretty much deliver everywhere in the world. So remember, to sum up, emotional eating, get rid of the trigger food, move it to another cupboard, and get yourself something that you can have that is tasty, a replacement that is good for you. Try and make sure that you are getting a variety of fruit and veg in your diet. Plants are medicine. Remember, you only get that one body. We've got to keep it as healthy as possible so we live a long, healthy life, right? Okay. And remember, any questions, please drop it in the comments. I'm so excited we're on day 8 already. We've only got 3 day 8, day 9, and day Day 8, day 9, we've got 2 more days only. And then Thursday, which is like day 11, I've got some exciting news I can't wait to share with you. So anyway, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I want to see that little note. If you've moved your treats away, I want to hear you say that in the comments. I'm going to keep an eye. Remember, you've got this. Sometimes I know it's easy for me to sit here and say, get rid of the treats. I'm not saying get rid of the treats all the time. Find an alternative. And actually, if you cannot go without that chocolate chip cookie, then have one chocolate chip cookie. Have it, acknowledge it, sit quietly and eat it and move on. Whatever you do, do not walk around and eat. Don't snack while you're driving. That's just mindless eating. And don't do that to yourself. We're trying to make sure that we help you get as healthy as possible, and so that you feel great and you feel energized. And on that note, I want to wish you a wonderful evening and a wonderful morning and a wonderful afternoon for all the people that are on the West Coast and all the people that are on the East side of the world. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Alrighty, have a good night. Bye-bye.